And then that way you guys can see me do the full run through, okay? Now again, obviously on your exam, you won't be asked to do every single technique in every single spot. It may be something where we say, you know, do effleurage, and then I'd like to see you do kneading of the upper arm and then the hand or something, or kneading of the upper arm and the lower arm, something like that. And then show me petrissage. And, you know, it might be of the upper and the lower, you know, some pieces, okay? Probably most likely doing 2 out of the 3 if there are 3 available, okay? All right, so I'm gonna fix this guy down. So key with this again, you guys, is gonna be kind of the flexors versus the extensors, okay? So I'm gonna start at the fingertips and supporting his wrist, kind of at the wrist, hand and forearm so that he doesn't drift. Starting at his fingertips, going up his forearm flexors, going up over his bicep, turning my hand ever so slightly to then drain into the axilla without pointing with my fingers. Pause in the drainage site, return to the start and switch hands. Starting at the tips of the fingers, going over the forearm extensors, diving underneath to the triceps. I'm gonna give a tiny baby traction just so I'm not pushing into him, and I'm ending at the rear delt, okay? So that's my effleurage stroke. I'm gonna come in for my kneading stroke. I'm gonna be sandwiching his triceps and his biceps, so flexors and extensors. I'm weight shifting. I'm gonna come down just past the elbow and returning to the start. My goal with this is long ovals. My emphasis is kind of trying to do my upward motion right in the belly, the main part of the belly of the muscle itself. Technically, if we were to do a circle, we would be surrounding the muscle and not actually getting the muscle belly itself. Then, as I move on to petrissage, I'm gonna bend his elbow so his hands to ASIS, ideally grabbing with my lower hand so that I can get as high into his bicep as possible. I'm gonna lift, pull, and pass, pulling perpendicularly to where the muscle lies. I'm gonna come down as far into the elbow as I can, and then back up to that starting position, being sure that I'm giving a lumbrical grip and not grabbing or flexing my fingers. When I get finished with my petrissage, straightening the arm out, again, you guys will be cued to do some other stroke, what have you. If we just go in this sequence, I'm gonna go kneading. Again, I'm gonna kind of place him in a neutral position. That's gonna enable the easiest access to these areas. I'm starting just above the elbow, and I'm aiming to his forearm flexors and extensors, giving that counterbalance so that he's not rotating too much, okay? To some degree, there will be a little bit of rotation, but again, we just don't want to make it floppy. So using my body mechanics in order to do that, okay? Just making sure too that a lot of times people will end up, depending on how the arm rotates, going right up the ulna and right up the radius. So making sure that you are on those muscle bellies, okay? Once I get finished with my kneading, I'm gonna go into my petrissage. I have a choice of how to stand. I can either stand facing him, using my inside hand and giving a nice good pulling lift away from his tissues. I'm gonna go almost to the end and come back and get more. Now I'm only doing the muscle belly, so I don't wanna go all the way to the end. And then I'm gonna return. My other option is to face the other way, still using my inside hand. Again, this way still allows me to be able to see his face, but it allows me a little bit easier pull. Whichever way you guys choose is fine, as long as you're adhering to the pull directions. I'm gonna place him back down in a pronated position. I'm gonna use my inside hand as a stabilizer so that I can do my fingertip kneading. I'm gonna start just above the elbow around the lateral epicondyle. Again, I can use 2 fingers or 3. If 3 helps you to not hyperextend, then I would recommend that. 3 consecutive circles, 3 to 4. Superficial, deeper, deeper, superficial, deeper, deeper. If you feel like the arm shouldn't really be rolling, but if you do find that there is some wobbling, maybe just catch it with your thumb so that there's not as much movement. Now, if I'm gonna go into the stripping technique, I'm now gonna use my inside hand again so that I can go right along those extensors into the extensor belly, aiming towards that lateral ep, coming right up along that belly of the muscle. So I'll start a little bit more superficially, and then I'll go deeper as I need once I feel those tissues kind of separating, okay? But this allows me to have a nice, good, neutral forearm, okay? Or neutral wrist, I should say. Once we get finished with that, we're gonna go down into the hand kneading. I'm gonna put them back into a neutral position. I'm gonna start just slightly above the wrist, and then I'm making sure that I'm able to control the hand all the way down to the fingertips and then coming back. Big thing with this is that you've just got to make sure you're doing a good counterbalance so that you're not wobbling, okay? And also not hooking your thumb into there. So kind of keeping that thumb tucked will be helpful. Not essential, but helpful. And then lastly, for my petrissage, I'm taking them into a pronative position. My thenar eminences are gonna come together with this. I'm gonna pull apart, so I'm kind of breaking the bread, okay? Pulling apart, pulling apart. My one hand is stabilizing while my other hand is pulling apart. 3 down, 3 up, switch to the other side. So I'm trying to get a little bend in my knee to allow for that extra pressure. Done, okay?